You need something. Maybe it's help with a task, or just someone to talk to, or even just a favor that would take 5 minutes. And instead of asking, you pause. You run through it in your head. You think about whether it's too much, whether they're busy, whether you've already asked for too much lately. And so you don't ask. You figure it out yourself, or you go without, or you lie awake later carrying something you didn't have to carry alone. And the whole time, part of you genuinely believes you're doing the right thing. You're not burdening anyone. Here's what I want you to sit with for a moment. The people around you, the ones you love, the ones who love you, they probably don't see you as a burden at all. In fact, most of them have no idea you're quietly carrying all of this alone. So where is this feeling coming from? And why does it feel so completely real, even when the evidence says otherwise? That's exactly what this video is about. Because the feeling that you are too much, that your needs are an imposition, that asking for help makes you a problem to be solved, that feeling has a psychology behind it, a real one, and once you understand it, something shifts. Most people assume this feeling is about low self-esteem. And while that's part of it, it's not the whole picture. Not even close. What's actually happening runs much deeper, and it started long before you were old enough to understand it. Think about a child who learns, early on, that the emotional atmosphere of their home changes when they express needs. Maybe a parent was overwhelmed, or struggling, or simply not emotionally available. The child doesn't think, "My parent is struggling," the child. "My needs are the problem." Children are wired to attach to their caregivers no matter what, so when something goes wrong in that relationship, they instinctively turn the explanation inward. They become the variable. They start shrinking. Scientists call this an anxious attachment pattern, which is just a way of saying your nervous system learned that needing things creates distance or tension, and so it trained itself to need as little as possible. Or at least to appear that way. You didn't decide to feel like a burden. Your nervous system decided it was the safest conclusion to draw. But here's where it gets interesting. That pattern doesn't stay in childhood. It follows you. Into your friendships, your marriages, your family relationships, your working life. You bring it to every room you enter. And the cruel irony is that the people who feel most like burdens are almost always the least burdensome people in the room. They're the ones quietly handling everything themselves, anticipating other people's needs, making sure everyone else is comfortable, while silently drowning in their own unmet needs. Almost nobody talks about what this does over time. Research suggests that chronically suppressing your own needs, the psychological term is self-silencing, is directly linked to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and what researchers call emotional exhaustion. A 2018 study from Harvard Medical School found that people who consistently prioritized others' comfort over their own emotional expression showed significantly higher markers of chronic stress. Even when their external lives looked completely fine. You can be surrounded by people who love you and still feel profoundly alone, because you've hidden the parts of yourself that most need connection. Now let's talk about the signs. Because this pattern shows up specific ways, and you might recognize yourself in more than one of them. The first sign is that you apologize for your own presence. Not in dramatic ways, in quiet, everyday ones. You say sorry before asking a question. You preface requests with "I hate to bother you," but you thank people excessively when they do something small for you, because some part of you is genuinely surprised they didn't mind. That constant apologizing isn't politeness. It's the outward expression of an inner belief that your existence requires justification. The second sign is that you find it genuinely harder to receive than to give. Someone pays you a compliment and you deflect it. Someone offers to help you and you insist you're fine. Someone checks in on you and you immediately redirect the conversation back to them. Giving feels natural. Receiving feels uncomfortable, sometimes even threatening. Because receiving means acknowledging a need. And acknowledging a need still feels dangerous, even decades later. Here's the third sign, and this surprises people. You have a hard time knowing what you actually want. Not in a philosophical sense, in the practical everyday sense. Someone asks where you want to go for dinner and you genuinely don't know, or you default to whatever works for them. You've spent so long orienting around other people's preferences that your own have become quiet. Almost inaudible. That's not indecisiveness. That's what happens when a person spends years treating their own desires as secondary. A fourth sign is that you interpret normal human behavior as evidence of your burdensomeness. Someone takes a while to reply to your message and you assume you've annoyed them. Someone seems distracted during a conversation and you think it's because of something you said. Someone cancels plans and your first instinct is to wonder what you did. Your brain is running a constant threat detection program, scanning for signs that you've asked for too much, even when you've asked for nothing at all. Now here's the common mistake. Most people who feel this way try to fix it by becoming even more self-sufficient. They double down on not needing anything. They get very good at appearing fine. And they think this is working, because fewer people ask them how they're doing, which means fewer opportunities to feel like a burden. But what's actually happening is that they're reinforcing the original belief. Every time you handle something alone that you didn't have to handle alone, your nervous system files it as more evidence. See, I was right not to ask. You're not healing the pattern. You're deepening it. What actually works is something that feels counterintuitive at first. It's small, deliberate acts of allowing, not oversharing, not suddenly unloading everything on everyone. Just practicing the experience of being received. Start with something low stakes. Accept a compliment without deflecting. Let someone hold the door without apologizing for it. Ask for a small favor from someone you trust, and then, this is the important part, notice that they said yes. Notice that the relationship didn't break. Notice that you survived the vulnerability of needing something. Psychologists call this corrective emotional experience, which simply means giving your nervous system new data to work with. You can't think your way out of this belief. You have to experience your way out of it. One small moment at a time, your brain starts to update the old conclusion. Needs don't have to mean distance. Asking doesn't have to mean rejection. You are allowed to take up space. Another thing that genuinely helps is learning to separate the feeling from the fact. When the burden feeling rises, try saying to yourself, this feeling is real, but it is not evidence. Feelings are data, not verdicts. The fact that you feel like a burden doesn't mean you are one. That distinction sounds small, but practiced over time, it creates real distance between you and a belief that was never yours to carry in the first place. If this landed somewhere real for you, I'd love to know. Leave a comment and tell me, was there a specific sign that hit home, or a moment in your life where you first remember shrinking yourself down? You don't have to share everything. But I read every comment, and sometimes just putting words to it is part of how things begin to shift. You have spent a long time being easy to be around by making yourself invisible. And the people who love you have been missing the parts of you that you've been hiding. That's not selflessness. That's self-erasure. And you deserve something different than that. You are not a burden. You are a person with needs. And that is the most ordinary human thing there is. Next week, we're going to talk about something that connects directly to this. Why so many people feel a deep, almost unexplainable guilt when they start putting themselves first. Even just a little, and where that guilt is actually coming from. It's one of the most common things I hear about, and the psychology behind it might genuinely surprise you. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss it.